Hello everyone, I'm Jackires and welcome to the surprise launch. So 4 years ago today, I named the album, and to celebrate that, I decided to make this sort of event where I'll be talking all things the album, like the making of the album, behind the songs, and reading diary entries, a little Q&A, an exclusive performance. So if you're interested in that, keep on watching and I hope you like this. Hello, just a little disclaimer. So I'm recording this with natural light, so if you see the light just going in and out of the entire event, please just deal with me. I don't have all the necessary equipment, and I'm doing this just out of love for the album and for you all, so thank you so much. So it took me a while to make this album, practically for almost 4 years, because for quite some time I didn't have the resources to make this album. I didn't have anybody to record it with, any studio I could go to record the vocals, or the money to be able to buy the equipment. So in summer of 2022, I was supposed to record the vocals with somebody that I knew from the School of Arts. I also went to the Conservatory of Music with me for the only year that I was there. And then he just couldn't, and I was like, you know what? With the money that I was going to pay him, I'm going to pay for my own equipment and I'm going to record it from my own home. Which, was a very bold movement, and I'm really proud that I did that, because if I just kept on waiting, I don't think I could have had the album ready for when it was released. But it was a really hard step to take, because I just, I was on my own. It was just me against the circumstances in a way. I had to just make it, and I did, and I'm really proud that I did. In the recording, producing, mixing, and mastering process, all that happened the first 6 months of this year. I remember there were times where I could procrastinate some things, and I kind of wish I didn't, but I guess it happened like that, and I learned that I need to not procrastinate. There were times where I could just, go to class because I was busy making this album. And yeah, there were some days where I was just like, I would not go to class because I'm like, no, I'm making this album. I need time, priorities, basically. So after now explaining the making of the album, let's talk about all of the songs. So Agony is the starting point of the album, and it's about a time of my life where everything was changing. And I was in love with this guy who he didn't know that I was in love with him, I think. I think it was pretty obvious, but I never told him. And my life was pretty stable. But at that time of my life, things started changing. Some things ended, some things started, and all this felt like and all of it just felt very overwhelming. And for the things that happened that I talk about later in the song called Nothing, I just felt like I had to pretend to be okay while I was living in agony. And it is in fact the fastest song on the album, because it reflects that anxiety and that, fast-paced heartbeat that you have when you're feeling really anxious. Nothing is the second track of the album, and it's about realization, just like Agony is. And this song basically tells the story of how I met this guy, how I fell in love with him, how things went, and how things ended. And the whole the whole bridge and post-bridge section of the song, which I think it's the second half of the song. It's all about the rumination of thoughts of, things that remind you of this person, things you cannot see the same way as you did before because they remind you of this person, things you are avoiding because they remind you of this person, and it brings such immense pain. And this song, it wasn't exactly all sonically just inspired by music that I listened to during these years, but it was more of like the music that I listened to with him, like alternative rock and trap. I wanted to incorporate those elements to kind of seal the song in a way. So Evasion is a fake it until you make it type of song. But a lot of songs of that kind are more about like, I'm going to have sex and use drugs to evade the pain. But in this case, it's more like I'm going to have a crush on a new somebody, so I forget about this other crush that I'm having on this other somebody, and it's making me feel such immense pain, as I said before. And I really love how the bridge is this kind of point of realization of like, okay, I'm not okay. And then the last chorus kind of feels like a cry for help, while at the same time it kind of feels like you're trying to convince yourself that, this is what I'm doing, I'm okay. And then the key change happens because I wanted to have a key change in the album, and this song has happened to be the ideal song to have a key change in. And with the key change there, it transitions into the next song because, in terms of narrative, it really does make sense. Miserable is about being miserable, and it narrates just a feeling of you have all of these dreams and hopes for the future, but you feel so powerless to make a move. You don't know what to do. You're just feeling very overwhelmed by everything, and you're basically feeling miserable. And something I really love about this song is that it feels so 2020. I don't know if in terms of sound, but definitely in terms of vibe. And actually, the rain that you can hear in the song during the beginning and the ending of the song is actually a recording of the rain that I did in 2020, I believe around November. So, like 3 years almost when this comes out. Um, so, yeah, and it's about a time of my life where I was like heavily depressed. Like it wasn't like a doctor told me you are depressed, but 2 plus 2 is 4, and it was really obvious that it was. Take Control of My Life. This is the lead single. This was the lead single, and ever since I wrote this song, I always knew it was going to be the lead single. I always knew it was going to be anthemic, and the song happened. I had another song that was going to be the lead single and kind of had this energy, but it didn't just feel like a me song. It was called Look What You Have Lost, and it was kind of like, you lost me, you lost someone so incredible type of song. But I remember telling somebody about it, and they were like, oh, it's kind of like Look What You Made Me Do by Taylor Swift. And was like, yeah, I don't want the song to remind you of somebody else. So I kind of went back to the writing room, metaphorically, and I remember I had ideas for the song. I just didn't know what the title could be, and I was listening to a horoscope video. At that time, I really used to watch a lot of those because they were kind of like my only hope in the future, in the saddest days. And the lady that was like talking said something like, you have to take control of your life. And I was like, that's the title. This is how I'm calling the song. It's called Take Control of My Life, and it's going to go this way. And the first draft of the song, because all the songs in this album had their lyrical changes throughout the years. So the first draft of the song, I wrote it in February of 2020. So actually, months before I actually took control of my own life, which is really, um, which is really poetic in its own way. That I kind of like, I knew that I had to take control of my life before I actually did. And this is surprisingly one of most people's favorite song of the album. People who have listened to the album, what are your favorite songs? And this is always the one that's like, I love this and that and take control of my life. And it's not because I didn't expect them to like the song, because I really do love the song myself, but I don't know, I don't know if it's really everyone's cup of tea, you know? Also, I don't know if you can see it, but I have nail polish on there because I'm a flop at doing nails, but let's talk about the music, which I think I'm good at. Let me know if I am. So, Home is track 6 of the album, and this song was going to be on what is going to be my second album originally, but just thinking of the narrative of the song, I was like, this song has to be on this album. And this song is about a couple of things, and it's about the time that my father left home and abandoned me and my family for the second and final time. But also, it's about what family means for me. Family is not some names and some registry, but it says that this is your uncle, this is your aunt, this is your grandmother. Family is what it is for you, and everybody has a different meaning for what family means for them. Everybody has a different definition for what family means for them. And this song is the one that I was saying that feels like, the sunrise after a rainy night. I imagine you waking up in like a motel-ish type of apartment, and through the windows you see this amazing sunrise happening. The sky is very yellow-ish, very golden, and then the parking lot in front of the building, you see rain puddles on the floor with like chain link fences around the parking lot. That's what I picture when I listen to this song, especially to when I was producing it. There's this synth pad that's the chorus in the song that really, really feels like what I have just described. Respect. This song, in terms of concept, is one of the oldest ones, but in terms of lyrics, it may be one of the younger ones. So, ever since I started making this album, I knew that I wanted to have a song of this kind in the album that was going to be talking about human rights. But I just didn't know how to approach it because I didn't want the song to be just about homophobia, just about racism, just about misogyny, or just about ableism or anything like that. I wanted it to include all the oppressions. I wanted to be a song that all of us oppressed social groups, could sing to and could relate to. And it's basically asking to the bigots why it is so hard for you to respect other people's existence. Why does it take you a toll on you to disrespect me and my existence as a queer person? And for the people, as a black person, Asian person, as a disabled person, why does it take these people, these bigots, such a toll on them to disrespect people? And in this song, there's a rap section. I don't know if I will rap again in my music. Maybe I will, but rap is also a type of music that I listened to during the years I was making the album, so I wanted to have its kind of like place in the album. And the bridge of this song, I don't think anybody has picked up on that yet. So there's this really hateful message code, which is 1488. I'm not going to say the message of the sentence, but for me, number 14 is really related to the last track of the album, which is a gay love song, and also I just find it so disgusting that that sentence exists or that code exists. So what I made is that I looked up what the sentence says, I changed the words, and now that's the bridge of the song. So it's kind of like reclaiming, it's kind of like rewriting it in a way. It's like, oh, you can use this to harm me and lots of other people. I'm going to twist it around so it no longer is harmful. Like we queer people did with the word queer. Like now it's not a slur, at least for me, at least that I know of. Just Stress Me, this is one of the oldest songs on the album, and now I know that it said You Stress Me Out, not You Stress Me, but at the time I didn't know it. And it kind of could play into the lore of the song because me and this guy are both Spanish, so kind of plays off. But this song is kind of like the counterpart of Nothing, because this song and Nothing are both sort of like in the same key. This song is in E flat major and Nothing is in C minor, so it's kind of like they complement each other. And this song, You Stress Me, is kind of like the period of the story. It's kind of like, I'm not perfect, I wasn't perfect, but I have the right to point out that it was also sort of stressful to have you in my life and have to agree with certain values of yours just so you couldn't get mad. And the song was inspired by lots of people actually, like Selena Gomez, because she has a song called "Feel Me" that at the time it wasn't released officially. So sorry, Selena and her team. But I had listened to the leak like a lot of years before I listened to it, and I really loved the chords. So I was like, I'm going to take the chords and change them up a little bit because I really, really loved them. And then sonically, I was inspired by Dua Lipa and The Weeknd and Doja Cat, this whole like new disco wave that happened in 2020, in like late 2019. And I remember I was in this musical program called Mrs. Score that I used at the time. And I was messing around with this instrument called clavinet. And I was, I guess, putting random notes, with random lengths. And what happened there is the bass line of the song. I just put the notes in where, no, I just put the notes in from notes of from the chords, but random lengths, and they just happen to be the baseline of the song. And the song is basically about accepting my relationship that is over and realizing that it's not what I thought it was. Good terms. This song is about a really complicated story that happened in my life that had a pretty easy resolution. So basically, in the second year of high school, I had a crush on this girl, more romantically than anything. At the time, I knew that I'm gay, but I just didn't accept it. And yeah, I had a crush on this girl, and I told a couple of people, and the next day or a couple of days later, the whole classroom knew. So, she said shit about me, I said shit about her. There were like sides within the classroom. It was really just not it. So then months later, things got better, and I confessed first time from me to her. She said no, for which she has the absolute right to say a no, of course. And I took it hard, but I didn't do anything out of that rejection. But then a couple of weeks later, or days later, sometime later, rumors about me being an asshole to her were spread around and people believed them. And I just, I didn't feel like I had the power to deny those rumors. Second, I was like, I guess I did it. I guess I'm an asshole. And then years later, we could check the hallways in high school, but it always felt like we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. So then years later, I wanted to write a song about this, and I just kind of felt like I had to talk to her before writing a song about this because I wanted to have the full story, both perspectives. And I remember texting her on Instagram. I was really nervous that she wasn't going to answer, of like what she going to say, because she can say fuck you, because she can say fuck you, and I could be like, you have the right to say that, because at the time I didn't know the truth. And I texted her a couple of times, because the first couple of times I deleted the message right after I sent it because I was so scared. But she replied to me. She was really sweet. We met, we talked, and turns out that the rumors were just rumors. And this song is about like closing that chapter of my life and saying, we might not be BFFs again because we're really good. We're really good friends. But if I see you in the street, there's not this unsolved story anymore. And we can just say hello, how are you? Hope you're doing good. See you later. And that time of my life, I remember with a really good light, because that was around the time that I became ARMY, BTS fan, that I got my first phone, which I'm recording this thing with, my first phone with a phone number. So yeah, good memories from that. So friends, this is the current single, and this is also one of the youngest songs in the album. And the song is about accepting that people you're trying to be friends with, they aren't your friends. even if they give you some slight attention, they are not your friends. And this is, one of the um, harder, no, this is one of the, I would say, saddest songs, because I know that I want to have a song called Friends in the album around mid 2022. But in that summer, people who I considered my friends didn't really text me to hang out or to go out or anything. And I remember feeling so frustrated about that. And most of the content from the verses of the song were written about around that time. And then I started the school year in the higher label training cycle in September of last year. And I had a hard time making friends because I just didn't know, am I too weird? How do you make friends? Because I just don't really feel like I have all the tools to make friends as easy as other people have. So I poured all those frustrations into the song, and the song is still a pretty good reminder to me that it make you feel a little bit of attention, but that doesn't mean that they want to be your friends or that they are your friends. So Real is, you could say, so Real is a song that I think is also one of the youngest songs on the album. And there are a lot of songs that I wrote that were going to be in the position that is Real right now, which you may see in the future. But Real is basically about, it's about love in general. In some parts of the song, it's more about sexual romantic relationships, but in some other parts of the song, it's about love in general. And there's a reference to her submarine castle on there. At first, I was going to have a reference to Princess Bubblegum and Marceline or Marceline. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Marceline. But then I was like, no, I'm just going to put references to series I have actually, watched recently. And I knew that I wanted to have a gay couple, a lesbian couple, and a straight couple in that second verse, because I'm all about good inclusivity. And the song is a good reminder that even if you're heartbroken, even if your boyfriend has broken up with you and you're feeling miserable about it, love is still real. Maybe for you it's like, no, it's not real, that's a lie. It's still real. And trust me, after going through some stuff, I can say that there's a lot of fish in the sea. There's a lot of it. Track 12 is Outgrown and is one of the most difficult songs. It was one of the most difficult songs to write in the album because there was so much that I wanted to say. I just didn't know how to say it. And I've had the chord progression that is in the chorus for about almost 3 years almost. At first it was going to be in C major, but now it's in E major. And the song is about letting the people and things and places that you have outgrown, that you have in fact outgrown them. And it's not because they're bad people or they did something bad to you. It's just because you're not just on the same wave anymore. You're grateful for the times that you lived with them, for what they gave you, for what they made your life, for what they brought to your life, but you have outgrown them, and you could be lying to them if you didn't let them know, or through a song like this, or if you pretended that everything's fine. So, Alive is a song about being grateful for being alive, and it's not all like, oh, everything's good, everything's perfect, and no, that's not the energy of the song. The song is like, there's going to be bad days, but we're going to take all the lessons we've learned, the lessons we're learning right now, and the lessons we will learn in the future, and we'll still be going hard, and we'll still be going grateful for being alive. And this is a mood we're striving to live in. And there's a couple of lines in the pre-chorus that I'm just really proud of, like the one that says, "Brokenness brings a beginning. Perfection is inexistent. Life is complex but worth living." I think those lines are really needed in times of uncertainty. And also the second verse, which says, um, "With my strengths I'm in love, and with my flaws I'm in peace." I think that's a really, um, I think that's a mood to live by. And also then in the bridge of the song, there I explain why the album is named Suppressed. More like why I understood that I named the album like that in the first place. Together, let's track on the album. I'm really proud of this song and I'm really grateful for the support that it has had. Um, this song is about a couple of things. You know, this song is about the story of two characters of a book that I read in September of 2019. Uh, it's actually two books, but it's like the first and second part of the same story, so I consider it the same book by this author called Jim Sensen. I hope I'm saying that right. And this book arrived at a time of my life where I really needed it. I was kind of like, love is a lie. I'm never going to have a boyfriend because I'm gonna be a flop at my love life. And then I read this book and I'm like, love is real. My chance has come in. um, and even before finishing reading the book, I was like, I'm going to write a song about this. And the song sonically was inspired by Taylor Swift in general, especially Lover by Taylor Swift, her seventh album, which also happens to be the era that I became a Swiftie. And when I was finishing reading the book, the only sound that came to my head was the outro of her song Afterglow. And that was the first kind of like inspiration of terms of sound for the song. And then later on, I was inspired by Daylight and the song structure, how the song feels, because for me together it really feels like a really beautiful afterglow, or a really beautiful foreglow, just sunglow in general, a really beautiful sky. And for me, the song is a motto, is somewhat like alive in terms of an energy that you have. And I feel like this song, as the closer of the album, and a song that is in this album, I feel like it's really important because in an album that has a lot of songs about letting go of somebody, letting go of something, closing a chapter of your life, I think that having a song that talks about reconnection is really important because something I've learned in my life in the last few years is that reconnection is possible if all the parties in the relationship involved really want to reconnect. Um, and it's also really good to know that people can change and can say sorry and can show that they are sorry and can show that they have changed. So in an album like this, I think it's really, really important to have that sort of reminder. So now, let's go ahead and read the diary entries. So, because this album is kind of like me reading my diary on some way, I thought, why not read actual diary entries of mine? I was inspired by Taylor Swift once again for this. So let's go ahead, and I have two entries here. I'm going to be reading the longer one, which is in here, and then I'm going to be reading the shorter one, which is on here. So let's start with the longer one, and this one's from Wednesday, December 28th of 2022. So today I've had Labyrinth by Taylor Swift stuck on my mind, and I saw an astrology tweet about Taurus, my sun sign, being lucky in romance next year, or whatever, and I was like, oh my god, when is my boyfriend coming into my life? LMAO. I'm such a romantic gay ass, please. Anyways, that's how I'm feeling about it, and I think it's a valid feeling. In other matters, listening to ASMR while writing this diary entry, Today I went grocery shopping with Max. Mom can't try it yet because she's recovering from the surgery. And it was very nice. I could play some of my favorites, some of my fave songs from the car, and I thought, wow, years ago I could have felt like I couldn't have done that, but now I can, and it feels very good. I played All the Time and Poster Girl, both by Sarah Larson, Black Mascara by Ray, and Bejeweled by Taylor Swift, also Butter by BTS. I wanted to play some Katy Perry because one, she's a queen, and two, I wore the Smile hoodie today, but we got home before I could play another song. Also, it's almost 2023, the 2023, the year I'll release Suppressed. It's pretty scary how near it is, but I have to finally record these songs in the album if I want to have my dreams come true. But I've gotten so used to not being able to record vocals or produce anything that it's just hard to just do it. I gotta get used to doing it, but for that to happen, I have to do it. It's just so scary in the way of like the songs not being 100% polished and stuff, but I gotta actually record the vocals and stuff to know the final result. Obvious, right? Anyway, the track list of Suppressed is this one. 1. Agony. 2. Nothing. 3. Evasion. 4. Miserable. 5. Take Control of My Life. 6. Home. 7. Respect. 8. You Stress Me. 9. Good Terms. 10. Friends. 11. Real. 12. Outgrown. 13. Alive. 14. Together. It's pretty solid, but right now I don't know if to change Respect for any other song like Sorry I Like You or whatever. Anyways, I'll figure it out. By the way, I love this journaling thing. It's like I'm already reading this from the future and being like, oh my god, look at how far I made it, you know? And like in my head, I already know what I'm gonna write. LMAO. That's so obvious, please. Anyway, referring to this point, I have hope that I'm gonna achieve my goals and be happy. I do. Love, Jackires. So this one was pretty long, and now I'm going to be reading the short one. This is shorter, I promise. May 4th, 2023, Thursday. I'm wearing this from class, and even though I got here less than 30 minutes ago, I cannot wait till I can leave. In other matters, my debut album, Suppressed, is almost ready to be released, and it's like at a 95% state of it being completed. Just some arrangements and a couple of new recordings, and I can send it for distribution. I hope I can have it ready before May 14th of this year, obviously. And even though I said I was gonna have it ready before my 20th birthday, I think I can have it ready before May 14th, 2023. I have to say that I did push the release date of Take Control of My Life from June 2nd, 2023 to June 23rd, 2023. Mainly because I don't want to have to go to class during the Suppressed era promotion rollout. Anyway, the class is about to start, so yeah, see you later. Love, Jackires. Woo, so what an emotional ride that is. I have more in here, but these are the two that I picked that I think that are more interesting. Regarding the matter, and why did the light just disappear like that? So these were the ones that I picked. Yeah, and it feels really good to see that the album is out and the albums have received some more support that I thought that I could have by now. So now let's go ahead and let's reply to the Q&A for the questions that you sent in. So question number 1 says, does a suppressed title track exist in the drafts? So the short answer is no. The long answer is that I just never truly thought of writing a title track. But I think that if it existed, it could be something like Alive or something like Miserable. The second question says, what songs do you think are indispensable within the album? I think all of them are, in a way. But to name a few, I think that Take Control of My Life and Alive, those are songs that contain like a lot of like life lessons, and they are essentially things that got me through to be here. So I think those two could be the ones that are indispensable, but all of them are in a way. Which was the last song you wrote for Suppressed? As I said before, there were a lot of like lyrical changes throughout the recording of the album, but I think the one that I wrote the last, like for the vast majority of it, and it being the last song I wrote for the album, I think it was Respect, which I wrote like a lot of it. I wrote it on January of this year. How did you get the visual identity of the album? And if you're wondering, I have the questions here, which I'm reading from there. How did you get the visual identity of the album? As I said before in the beginning of the video, in the beginning of this, I was inspired by the imagery that my life evoked at that moment. You know, the sky, from a lot of pictures I had taken from the sky during these last, I said, 4 years. Yeah, and then you know the whole, just this whole very summery, light, bright, calm energy and vibe. I think I was most inspired by that. How long have you known you wanted to dedicate yourself to music? Who and what inspired you? So I think the music has been a pretty amazing thing for practically all my life. But I got into pop music like I am right now when I was like 13 to 14. So the story is that, of course, I listened to the hits on the radio when I was in the car, but I didn't use the internet until I was 12, and I didn't really use YouTube until I was like 13, 14, for what I remember. And basically, my younger brother could download songs in his like MP3 device that he had at the time, and he could play the songs for me and would be like, "Do you remember this song?" And I could be like, "Yeah, how's it called?" And he would tell me, and I would have to beg him to tell me what's it called, how it was, and I could look at I would like search it on YouTube, and then I started doing my own research, and that's how I fell in love with pop music and pop culture in general. By how I started making pop songs myself, and how I knew that I wanted to do this, it was, you know, the Manchester attack of 2017 happened, and you know, I just felt so, you know, I just felt like I needed to tell the world how I felt about it, and how just completely shit it was, and how it's not needed to, you know, use violence to make a point or something. Just like I said, then a huge hug to the families, and to, you know, and just wishing, you know, the victims to rest in peace. And at that moment, now looking back, I'm like, what was the point? I knew that music is the way that I get to express how I feel about things, about life, about things that happen to me, and how, you know, how I, you know, how I think about something, about somebody. And ever since that moment, I knew that I wanted to be an artist. And I think that what inspired me was life in general, but also, you know, artists such as Taylor Swift and Katy Perry, BTS, Sarah Larson, Ray, Troye Sivan, Meghan Trainor, Sabrina Carpenter, Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, and many, many, many more. What did you like the most about making your own album, and what do you like the least? So what I liked the most, I feel like experimenting with production, and like, you know, putting all the effects, the filters, instrumentation, the mix. That was really, really fun to do, and like putting all the vocal layers together and seeing the songs come to life. Basically, that was really, really fun. And what I liked the least, I feel like, you know, there were things like when it was really, you know, really stressful sometimes when I had to, you know, deadlines basically, and you know, the song's not being like polished, and I could be stressed like, oh, I need to, yeah, change this and change that. But I think what backed me the most about the making of the album could be definitely the waiting. Just, you know, the time that I had the songs like kind of ready to be recorded, and I had to wait and wait and wait. I said my shoe there. I had to wait and wait and wait to have the chance to record the songs. I think that was the part I liked the least. What are your favorite songs on the album, and why? I mean, all of them are, because if I didn't like a song in the album, it couldn't be on the album. But I really, really love Together. I'm really proud of the song. I love how it sounds. It's not perfect and stuff, but you know, I really, really do love the song, and I'm really proud of how it turned out to be. So now that the Q&A is done, I'm going to be leaving you with an exclusive performance of one of the songs in the album. So I hope that you like it, and yeah, I hope that you like it.
You could say hi, I could say hi too. But that doesn't mean that I want to have you in my life again. I guess we all have different life paths, meant to cross sometime then in the past. Still I think you all deserve an explanation. And it's just that I have outgrown you. Yeah, I have outgrown you. Memories come back around every once in a while. Even if it's when us now, it's like a million miles. Traces of mine left to love behind, but I can't go back in time to change my mind. And when we coincide again, some way, somewhere, sometime, but it won't be the someone that we could have been in a different lifetime. Thanks for everything, but I just wanna say goodbye to you. Cause I realized, whoa, that I have outgrown you. And I'm pretty sure you've forgotten me too. Pictures remind us of the persons and of what could have been. Pictures remind us of the persons and of what could have been. The bomb exploded, I'm not the same anymore. The bomb exploded, I'm not the same anymore. Still offering you, still offering you. Still offering you, still offering you. Still offering you, oh I wish you well.
Hi, so this is a different day because I guess I forgot to record something like this the other day when I recorded most of the the other time when I recorded most of the Surprise Lunch. So if you're here, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the Surprise Lunch, and I hope to see you here the next time. Thank you so much.